Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to episode 89 of the Health Oddity podcast. Apologies, I'm a bit throaty, a bit chesty, because my missus works in a school, so she brings back lots and lots of disease with her, so that's lovely. Anyway, it's not COVID. So, well, this week, I'm going to ask you straight out of the blocks to please like and share this episode far and wide, and episodes before this. We have a Facebook group that you can join as well. You just request to join and we let you in that. And, you can ask any questions, request guests and stuff in there as well. So whatever platform you're on, if you can, please leave us a review. And like I said, please like and share this with your friends. So this week, we're going to do something which one of us had the amazing idea of talking about. So see if you can guess who that was. It was me.
I'm guessing by your smugness that it was you, Pete.
But no. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so introductions first, the usual suspects. We'll say hello to James because nobody ever says hello to him, do they? So how are you doing, James?
Hello, I'm very, very good, thank you. And I just want to share with the listeners, if you listened to last week's episode with Jeff Sokol, aka @SokolStrong, he talked about a procedure that he was going in for the day after we recorded, actually, and he was quite anxious and quite concerned about it. And just to let you all know, if you listen, I have spoke to a few people, and a few people have asked me about it. He did email me over the weekend or yesterday, I think, and say that he had the procedure and everything is good. So he did at one stage mention potentially being tipped into a lake if it went wrong. So he is not in the lake. He is very, very well. And he's messaged me and he's again said he's looking forward to coming back on and discussing the nuts and bolts of training and how to get stronger and technique and stuff. So we will speak to Jeff again in the future, which is great.
Excellent. So that's how James is.
But aside from Jeff, I'm very, very good. Thank you. Yeah, I'm excellent.
Glad to hear it. And how are you, Paul? How's it hanging, so to speak?
More. Well, James put up a post today about coffee Guinness, which sounds like what kind of abomination is that?
It's a delicious abomination. Don't knock it till you've tried it. It's very, very nice. It's a much lighter, smoother. It's just really nice. Yeah, I know Pete likes his Guinness, so he could try a coffee Guinness. Yeah.
Do you know what? Years ago, I would have been the same. I would have been like, "Wow, no! Why would you want to do that? No, disgraceful." But I've never tried. How do I know? I've never tried it. Right? I could try it and think it's disgusting, but I could try it and think it's great. And I like Guinness and I like coffee, so my mind's open these days.
I like jelly and I like roast lamb, but I don't mix them together.
Well,
it's not quite the same, though, is it?
Each to their own, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that leads us nicely, actually, into today's topic, doesn't it? Because I told someone what I have for breakfast and I thought it was a bit weird. But anyway, so today, one of us had the amazingly fantastic, inspired idea of talking about nutrition. Now, nutrition is a minefield. There's many, many diets and protocols and all sorts out there. So rather than try and tell you what to do, one of us had the amazing, inspired idea of telling you what I've just spat on my screen, of telling you what we do. So the reason for this is we have, even though we are all in the fitness industry, we have 3 different lifestyles. Okay, I haven't got any kids, but I've got a spaniel who needs lots of walking, and I've got lots of time because of the way I run my life. James runs a big business. Is it a small business or a big? It looks quite big.
Technically, it's a micro business.
Well, it's a micro business, but he does all right with that. But obviously, there's lots of moving parts. but and he's got 2 kids, and you know all of the stuff that goes with that. But he still manages to handle his nutrition. And Paul doesn't own his own facility, but he rents a place in Daley Thompson's gym in Putney. Putney's obviously really busy, you know, and Paul's got a very busy lifestyle with 2 kids as well. But I'll let them tell you more about their own lifestyles, obviously, because they know more about it than I do. But the idea behind this was to tell you how we manage our own nutrition around our own lifestyles, because they're 3 very different ones. So, because we'll hear lots of people saying, I can't do that because I've got 2 kids. I can't do that because I've got a busy job. I can't do that because I've got this, that, and the other. Okay. So hopefully all of that will be covered, or most of it anyway. And I'm not really going to say excuses, but most kind of objections that people will have around why they can't fit nutrition or healthy nutrition into their lifestyle will be handled. And it's not being preachy about it and telling you how to do it. It's just telling you how we manage it as an example. Because certainly with me, I've never managed it. I haven't managed it very well most of my life until like the last 10 years when I took hold of it. So also, as a little caveat, this is not nutritional advice or anything like that. Like I say, it's our own experiences and you can take from it what you will. I think we're covered. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
So
Twitter and see what happens.
Right. So, I mean, we'll start with James. We already know what you do anyway, but let's talk a little bit about, I mean, like we've got lots of stuff written down what to talk about. We'll talk a little bit about what you do now, what you've done in the past, and then what you've kind of kept and what you've put aside, and how your lifestyle might have changed since you've had kids and stuff like that. So therefore, obviously, you'll keep some protocols and let other ones drop by the wayside and add in new ones and what have you. So yeah. So what does it look like at the moment?
Well, I think the first thing to sort of say is that I think for most of my life as well, I didn't really, or haven't really paid too much attention to eating and drinking and being too mindful about it, because I think when you're in your teens and your 20s and probably even your 30s, you can kind of get away with pretty much anything, or I could anyway, you know, up until probably mid 30s, you know. When I was younger, I used to drink a lot more alcohol, you know, used to go out a lot more, used to probably eat a lot more processed food, a lot more kind of what I'd now call, you know, kind of, you know, junk food or takeaways or whatever, you know, not all the time, but, you know, certainly far more of that stuff than I do now. And I could kind of get away with it. And then I suppose like most people, you notice as you start to get a bit older, you know, your body starts to change and you do start to be able to put on a bit more fat, a bit more easily if you sort of aren't too mindful of your training and your nutrition. And it's probably a few years ago, I think it's probably about 3 years ago now, that I started looking into the first big thing that I do is not actually about what I do eat at all. It's about kind of when I eat or when I don't eat, and it's the kind of intermittent fasting and things like that. So that was a big one that I went into possibly 3, possibly even 4 years ago now. And that's something that I've done consistently over that period of time, either intermittent fasting or kind of short-term fasts and even long-term fasts. I've done up to 7 days is the longest fast I did, which was, you know, having sort of 0 calories apart from, well, there's no calories in water, but apart from water and black coffee and mixing some salt into water occasionally, consuming 0 calories for 7 days. So that's the longest one I did. I did a few 5-day ones as well. And now I've pretty much settled into the habit of probably 20 hours a day fasting and 4 hours a day eating, or maybe 18 and 6. And the main benefits of that for me were really just exploring hunger and getting to know about myself and discipline and really understanding when I was hungry and when I was just eating because I was bored, or eating to fill up time, or eating because it was lunchtime or dinner time or whatever. So that was a really, really interesting kind of period of my kind of life of sort of I probably did that for about a year, you know, off and on, really quite seriously, doing multiple sort of 48-hour fasts, 72-hour fasts, like I say, 4 and 5 days, and the longest I ever did was 7. So that's something that was huge for me.
Did that help you find out what your body needed as well? Because obviously, if you fast for that long, you're then not going to just go and eat a bag of crisps and this and that and all sorts of stuff. You're going to eat what your body wants to replenish, right? Because obviously people can eat whatever they like all day, but you're not necessarily getting the nutrients and everything you need. So you can eat stuff, and then you're still hungry. Your body's still craving stuff. So did that teach you?
It helped me. It helped with there's so many different things. I mean, the book that I read, and if anyone wants to read it, is called, or one of the books, I've read a number of books about it, but was The Complete Guide to Fasting by Dr. Jason Fung. And he talks about, and he's I think it's a nephrologist, which is a liver doctor. And he talks about lots of medical things around it. But the main thing that it taught me was that hunger kind of comes in waves, and you don't get you learn to actually, and Josh Hillis talked about this a lot as well. You may be hungry, or you may just be craving something in that moment, and that craving will pass. And also hunger passes as well.
Yeah.
And so that was fascinating. And then also, when you then eat, you really enjoy your food a lot more, and you enjoy the taste of natural food and the real taste of, we mentioned before, we'll talk about it today, but we mentioned before coming, before recording, you know, these single ingredient foods, and actually the taste of, you know, vegetables, or the taste of a bit of fish, or the taste of something without, you know, slavering it in sauce and all the rest of it. Just, you really appreciate the natural goodness of food. And when you come off the back of like a 4 or 5 day fast, that first meal just feels, it tastes, you know, incredible, you know, and you appreciate and you savor every bite. So there's so much that you learn, that I learned from the process of exploring fasting and abstinence from eating and stuff, that kind of really affects the way I think about food now. So there was that, which was massive. And then, you know, I'll pass on to someone else in a second, but I then went from the fasting kind of stuff, went into the book I've mentioned previously, Mark Sisson and Brad Kearns, The Primal Blueprint, and went into a far more kind of ancestral way of eating and far more natural, and then moved towards more of an animal-based stroke carnivore approach for the last 13 months. And I'd probably say that now I'm 80% on that still, you know, as a sustainable lifestyle choice. And I love it. And I would say that a culmination of lots of things I'm doing at the moment, not just, also I've looked at my sleep more seriously as I've got older. I've looked at my my training more seriously. Obviously, I've now, you know, program stuff from Paul McElroy, looked at my walking more seriously. But at 44 years old in a couple of months, I'm now kind of leaner, and I'm able to stay leaner than I've ever done in my life with less effort by doing a combination of all these things that I'm doing. So it's really working for me. Yeah.
So what's good about that is, because what you do now, if you just said, here's how I eat now, and well, actually talk about the fasting as well, it all sounds quite extreme, but you've explored, and it's what works for you. If you'd have gone carnivore and you felt really rubbish, you'd have stopped doing it, right?
Yeah.
So this is one of the things. It sounds extreme, it sounds restrictive as well, but then actually, if you enjoy it, it's not restrictive, because it's not, you're just taking out all the stuff that you don't enjoy. So that's
it's not that I don't. Yeah, and it's not that I've always. I do eat. I eat. So the stuff I actually eat, I just wrote down like the staples probably of my diet the majority of my food is made up of either meat, fish, eggs, full fat Greek yogurt, nuts, berries, water, black coffee. But still, every week now,
You've just
I do
described
have.
mine, by the way.
What's that? I've just described
Just pretty much described mine as well. Yeah.
and coffee Guinness. If you had that, I had a can of coffee Guinness last night.
But it's black though. It's the black stuff. So that's
yeah.
all right.
So I think, but every week now, I do also have probably once a week or twice a week. I'll have some rice now, and I also have probably some other different bits of fruit, and I'll have a few vegetables and stuff. It's not like, but the bulk of my weekly diet is what I just kind of described. And the one thing that I think that I do now is I prioritize protein consciously with every meal. So I make sure I think about getting my protein in. And if I'm eating lots of fish and lots of meat and lots of eggs and yogurt and stuff like that, then there's less room for me to, because that stuff is very filling and it's very, very satiating. There's less room for me to be eating lots of starchy carbohydrates and lots of any junk sort of stuff, because I'm actually generally pretty full from eating that stuff, you know.
That's a huge thing, actually. A little aside on that is that, I mean, I'm sure you guys have it as well. Most of the people I speak to don't eat a lot of protein or enough. Or not that they don't eat enough, they don't eat enough to warrant kind of what the goal that they want for kind of like fat loss and stuff like that. Because obviously if you're not eating enough protein, it gets replaced with fat or carbs, doesn't it? So I mean, what there's lots of numbers that are bandied around, aren't there, for the number of grams per kilogram of body weight? But it's usually like if you're eating one gram per kilogram of body weight, you're pretty much there, aren't you? That's kind of like a minimum. And you want it. Some people will want double that. Some people will want 1.5 grams. But most people I speak to don't even have 1 gram per kilogram. You know.
No, I mean, I shoot for about the thing that used to be talked about a lot in bodybuilding and things like that was 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein.
Yeah.
Now I don't get that because that's hard for me. I'm about 75, 76 kilos. So that would be 150 grams of protein. I hit that now and then, but I'm probably more around the 120, 130, although I don't calculate, I'm not weighing stuff, but I kind of got a good idea now in terms of how much is in everything and how much I'm actually eating.
Even with all the eggs and the sausages and the beef because like an egg is like 7 grams of protein, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But it's still hard to get up to that number without using, and I don't take any protein shakes and things like that, which I know you can take, and then sometimes they'll have 20 or 30 grams in a serving. But I don't do any of that. I just have the natural stuff. But so even like eggs, if I had 5 eggs, what's that, 35 sort of 35 grams, which is it's a decent amount. But then and you have like a steak and you have a couple of chicken breasts and you have a big thing of yogurt that I have, which has got maybe 20 something, but it's quite hard to get to 150, even if you start thinking about those numbers.
And you're talking about high protein foods there as well, because yogurt's like 10% protein and what have you, isn't it? And all that. So
particularly for having it in a compressed window, because a lot of the stuff when you're looking at protein utilization is you spread it out throughout the day because the body can absorb so much. But obviously about calorie intake, you could quite easily consume your entire calorie intake for the day in one meal. And you could obviously take in 160 grams potentially if you've got a big enough stomach of protein. Say if you're a big guy, because I think some guys, depending on the kind of training they're doing, is probably 150 to 200 grams of protein a day. Usually we'd spread that over the course of the day. So most programs like the Amazing 12 or just most bodybuilding programs or whatever, they'll be looking at kind of smaller meals throughout the day so that you keep that kind of muscle protein synthesis window open, don't they?
It's also I know that what Paul's touching on there obviously is the stuff that was really heavily touted 20 years ago of you train and then you've got kind of like a window of opportunity to consume protein after training, and it was 20 minutes or 30 minutes after training you have to consume this. There's now there's conflicting kind of studies and reports and ideas around that. Now I'm not saying what is right and what isn't right, but I think from an evolutionary perspective, there was also this number that you can't absorb and synthesize more than 30 grams of protein in one sitting, and then, well, what's that though? Is that for an 8-stone woman? Is that for a 25-stone man? Is that for a 15-stone man? Is that for how active you are? So there's a lot of things there that there's a lot of moving parts there as well,
The thing with that is, I think for most of our listeners as well, who might be struggling with nutrition, that's the least of their worries.
That's I know, and I was just going to say, I was aware.
No, but it's just getting your nutrition on point for a start, isn't it? And then you don't have to worry about meal timings and all of that. It's just actually.
Well, it's optimal. The goal, isn't there? You know, and talking about an Olympic cyclist who's trying to think about meal timings because of the amount of volume, then of course probably that's quite important. But if you're just the average office worker who forgets about taking their lunch in, it probably doesn't matter about meal time. But you just got to get some kind of consistency, and that meal's got to be complete in some way, rather than just something you offer out of a gas station or something like that.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like with the majority of people that I speak to, and we brought 15 new people in yesterday, and this is we're talking around nutrition in a group setting on Sunday. Most people, and first, and I know we all agree with this, and we do this anyway. You forget about trying to be perfect, and you just try and think about being better than you are at the moment in terms of what you do, and which is why I like the idea. I know Dan John, I think he got it from you quote someone else for it, but there's a continuum, a line of hit on one side, it's a horizontal line, and on the left might be the typical American diet, they'd call it, of lots of takeouts and lots of soda and not many vegetables, and just really heavily processed. And then on the right side might be what you might deem the ideal diet, and all you're trying to do is move people from the left towards the right. And for some people it might be, and again, this is another rabbit hole to go down, but it might be, if you just said substituting a couple of sodas a day for a couple of glasses of water a day, that's progress. Going from 3 or 4 chocolate bars to 1 or 2 is progress. Having cooking a few more of your meals at home every week rather than getting them at drive-throughs, or garage state, or petrol stations, or whatever, like Paul said, that's progress. So it just depends where people are starting from, doesn't it? What do you do, Paul, for your kind of self? What's your approach, I suppose, personally to this, in terms of what works for you?
I mean, ever since I lost my initial weight many years ago, I've kind of just explored different things, and I just play with stuff. Sometimes I'll get sick of a particular way of doing things. I often just try and experiment a bit just so I can advise clients. I mean, I've done things like fasting, and I've done higher carb eating. I've done low carb quite frequently. At the moment, I give myself freedom at the weekends to just kind of not think about food too deeply, where if someone wants to go out and have pizza, we have pizza. If I want to have dessert, I'll have it. But during the week, in the working week, I'm much more structured. I'm focusing mainly on whole foods. I eat quite a bit of meat. So I'll look to predominantly have more meat in my diet, and I get most of my carbohydrates from fruit, I would say, at the moment. So rather than having bread and rice and stuff like that, which tends to make me feel quite bloated, I'm getting a lot of my. I just really, what I don't do, I eat to hunger. I just eat. I mean, I'm training a lot, just like you guys are, and I burn through a lot of calories quite easily, and I really do notice if I undereat, and I'm not really interested in getting very lean. When I get very lean, I feel very weak, and also it's just a pain in the neck getting abs. It's just a lifestyle. It's something you have temporarily, and with the kids and stuff like that, and work patterns and the amount of time I'm on my feet, it's just not something that's that enjoyable. So really, I'll eat regularly throughout the day, so I don't fast. I like to have my breakfast. I like to have, probably about four meals a day. And yeah, like you, James, I'll try and base them around the protein. Usually it's a meat, it's beef, there's pork, plenty of eggs. I'll have a bit of cheese in there, and lower on the carbohydrate side, mainly. No, not lower on the low carbohydrate, lower in terms of processed carbohydrates. So I'm not looking to have. So
you have sort of fruits and vegetables and fibrous carbs that way, yeah.
I'll be honest, not a huge amount of vegetables. I mean, I not say I don't like vegetables, but I don't feel the need to just have millions and millions of broccoli and things like that. I have a few. I kind of figure I get more fiber from like fruit and stuff like that. I'm quite simple at the moment, actually. I wanted to simplify it quite a bit and not have too much preparation. I wanted to just a nice piece of meat, have a really good piece of quality fruit. And then at the weekends, I'll do something more elaborate where we're putting loads of vegetables with butter and garlic and whatever. And, I don't worry about how many times a day I eat or anything. I'll just have whatever I want. I'm kind of thinking about it in terms of food quality and focusing on protein. But other than that, there's no real plan, other than the fact I have a rhythm. The rhythm is that I've always got the shopping done on a Sunday, so we know we've got a full cupboard. And then I've always got whole food, and most of the recipes I come up with during the week are something I can do really quickly. I use the slow cooker a lot, so I shove loads of different like slow cooked meats in there, and then we can have that whenever we want. Get some good quality sausages, have plenty of bacon, eggs, quality cheeses. We do get good quality vegetables, but I never feel the need to kind of fill up on vegetables. I'd much rather fill up on the protein, really.
No, that's excellent.
So how you manage your time around that then with the slow cooker?
So in the morning, get up, just the meat is defrosted if we've had it in the freezer. Stick it in there, stick it in with some stock, just leave it in all day. And then we've just got a nice beef stew or something like that. Yeah. And then you could add anything else to it. If you wanted to do some quick pan-fried vegetables, or you wanted to boil something or have something fresh just sliced up. I don't feel the need anymore to make these elaborate meals because, I don't know, you just end up getting caught up in this thing. I'm going to do a Thai curry and then I'm going to do an Indian, korma or jalfrezi or whatever. And it just becomes mental.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, Paul, because a lot of people ask, I mean, I don't eat breakfast, so I don't tend to eat till at least sort of 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but a lot of people ask, and I'll ask the same to Pete in a bit as well, like, so about breakfast, or what should I be eating for breakfast? Because obviously the easy go-to is, cereal or toast or something like that. And people seem to want to move away from that. What's your kind of breakfast that you have?
Pretty simple, really. I'll either have some kind of, like you, some good quality Greek yogurt with some berries and stuff like that on it. Maybe if I'm feeling like I've got a hard training session, I'll have a drizzle of honey on it. Or eggs, and eggs just kind of lightly fried in a little bit of butter. Maybe 4 eggs. Nothing too heavy. I don't want anything too heavy. And then I'll have some fruit like an apple or maybe some grapes or banana or something, and that'll do me. I don't. A lot of people get bored at breakfast, and I don't really understand this idea that breakfast needs to be entertaining. Actually, when I dig down into it, they're often not eating it.
Well, this is one of the things. People think food always has to be entertaining, and it's like, I get that people want to cook elaborate meals and all that, but if time is your problem,
just eat.
You can just throw something. You can throw something together very, very quickly.
One thing that you said there, Paul, that I thought as well is I always have hard-boiled eggs in the fridge. Steph will just hard-boil 12 eggs or something and just peel them in the fridge, and then literally just, that's a great snack. Like a couple of hard-boiled eggs is filling as well. It's high in protein. It's good.
It also means if you let a sneaky one go, You can just go and open the fridge door and go, oh, it was sorry. It's because I've opened the fridge.
Pete, what about yourself? You know, in terms of your approach and how you're doing things at the moment.
Well, yeah, for me, I mean, I basically do it to fit around my day. So I train in the morning. I always train fasted, always, because it just, if I eat before I do, I'll still be full, so I don't bother.
Yeah, me too. I train fasted all the time.
But yeah. I'm the same as you. I've experimented with intermittent fasting and pushed times back and all that. But I usually eat breakfast around about 11 o'clock because I'll have a session with the guys in the morning. Then I'll come home and train. Then I might have another session and what have you. So by the time I've got my morning done, it's like 11 o'clock. So I'm like, right, I'm ready for breakfast. But what I will do is while I'm training, so I train at home, I might be making my breakfast as I do it in between sets. Because like similar to Paul, I'll just have eggs for breakfast. Chuck like 4 eggs, whisk them up, bit of black pudding all chopped, like sliced up, and bit of ham or bacon or whatever sliced up. I put plums in there as well sometimes, bit of fruit sometimes, because it like people are like, oh, that's weird. And it's like, no, it actually goes quite well. And it's just tomatoes, anything that's lying around basically. And I'll always have things like bits of fruit and bits like tomatoes and spring onions and stuff like that lying around. Just because they're just nice to have. And then I'll basically melt a bit of butter in a pan, chuck it all in there, fry it for a minute, and then chuck it in the oven for 10 minutes or however long it takes to cook. And then I'll be doing that while I'm training. So by the time I finish training, it's ready. Or it's ready, and then I've got to go out again for another session, and I'll have it cold when I come back. Because that's another thing people say. I say, what, you have it cold. It's like, actually, it's really nice.
It's just like a quiche, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like
It doesn't have to be warm.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I do for ease in the morning. And like I say, that's about 11 o'clock. So I usually eat dinner like between 7 and 8. And then I'll be like till 11, go through till 11 in the morning, which I find really easy to do.
Everyone tells me to think of eggs whenever they do a nutrition program.
Yeah, but if you put other stuff in with it, it's a different flavor every day.
I know. I mean,
sometimes I'll chuck, like if we've got feta in the fridge, I'll chuck that in, or I'll just have some cheddar, or like I'll melt some cheddar on top of it, like not loads, but just for the taste.
Yeah.
You know, there's all sorts. Or I'll chuck a slice of garlic and chuck that in as well. Sometimes not with the plums and all that. I'll chuck a load of vegetables in and some garlic and a bit of meat and stuff like that as well. So it's all like, it's just, honestly, there's endless recipes for that.
That's a very different mentality to what most people come to nutrition programs with. You're coming in with an abundance mentality, aren't you? You're saying, I've got all these things that I can add in and look at the variety that I can have and the possibilities. Whereas most people come in and say, all I'm having is eggs, and I want to have anything. I want to have croissants. I want to have pain au chocolat. I want to have cereal.
That's a different issue. Do I want to call it an issue? I want to be able to eat what I like. That's where you're coming from, isn't it? I would say in that sort of situation, it's like that's very restrictive, and it's like, but it's not. So you're saying coming at it from an abundance, but it's not. It's like that. Yeah. It's not restrictive what I'm doing.
Well, it's you make it, isn't it?
Sorry?
It's only restrictive as you make it.
Exactly. Yeah. But like I say, that fits around my day. But then I've experimented with, I used to fast from a Sunday night till a Monday night. So not go all day Monday without food. Basically, because I'm the similar to Paul. Over the weekend, I don't really watch what I eat. But then I don't eat that much differently either. I might have we make homemade pizzas and stuff like that. You know, I've got a beard and a tattoo now, so I had to get some sourdough, didn't I? So we make sourdough pizza and all that sort of stuff, but all single ingredient stuff as well. So I make the dough myself, we'll cook it, and, we'll put all the stuff on the pizza. So it's still single ingredients. It's just got dough with it as well. We might have a takeaway on a Saturday night, like have a curry or a Thai or something like that, but from one of the local restaurants, which you know, are all like have all got very good menus and stuff like that, and they're all, you know, they're all well established. And another thing, it's the way I think about it is what people say. So I was speaking to someone the other week, and like on a Sunday, you know, we'll have, I might eat so like bread over the weekend and that as well. Recently, I've started to eat less bread and less grain. So we used to eat couscous during the week and stuff like that, and I've kind of stopped doing that now because it made me feel a bit bloated. So I haven't cut bread out completely. I've just I've drastically reduced it. Yeah, so I might only have it on a Sunday. You know, with breakfast. But like on a Sunday evening, because we've had pizza and some curry and stuff like that over the weekend, we might end up just having a salad or something like that. And people are like, you know, I've spoken to people, especially through winter, and they're like, what? You don't have like a massive Sunday roast and splurge and all that? It's like, well, no, because we did that on Friday and Saturday. So why would I want to do that on Sunday as well? Or if I know it's coming on Sunday, I won't eat all day, and then we'll have a big roast because I know I'm going to stuff my face. So there are no surprises. That's what I'm kind of getting at, is I know what I'm going to eat today. So I know what I can add in. So I'm, you know, like during the week, I'll eat breakfast, like eggs for breakfast. I'll eat dinner is meat, fish, vegetables. That's basically it. And then during the day, same as James, meat, yogurt, you know, full fat yogurt, berries, nuts. That's pretty much it. And that fills me up for ages. And I don't even do that every day. I only do it when I feel like I need to.
One thing I've had a lot lately is since Dan John came down, and he was talking about sauerkraut and kimchi and fermented vegetables and stuff. So I've started having that a lot now as well. So that's something I also have. So if I have, you know, meat and eggs, I'll often have a big thing of sauerkraut with it. And just quick shout to Alison Young, who came down to do the Tactical Strength Challenge with us at the weekend. And she came down from London. She's been down the last 3 times, and she brought me these 3 lovely jars of, I think it was from the London Fermentory, it's called, but they're kind of like artisan sort of sauerkrauts, different ones, you know, and a kimchi as well. And really, really nice. I like having that as well. So
I've started doing that as well. Actually, just cabbage. I just get cabbage and slice it up. I've bought a couple of jars from somewhere, and they've got a spring on them, so they let the gas out, and that's lovely. Like 2 cabbages makes enough for it lasts as ages.
Yeah, because we've been buying sauerkraut as well, and yeah, go on, sorry.
I was about to say, talking of gas, there must be a ton of gas after all that.
No, it's good for your gut, mate.
It is. I found personally, like, to talk about that for a touch, you know, loads of meat and eggs and sauerkraut and stuff like that. My actual bodily gas is virtually non-existent, you know, like compared to what it used to be. I think when I was eating lots of like vegetables and things like that, then that does actually create a lot more of that. You know,
but this is one of the things, isn't it? So we've all just explained what like our approach to what we do, but it doesn't mean it's right for everyone, because everyone's different. You know, and there's like most people have got some sort of food intolerance that they're not even aware of because it's low level. But you know, I mean, talking about that sort of stuff, if I eat lentils, pulses, anything like that, it's horrible. It makes me feel really horrible. Like really horrible. It's bad. You just don't want to be anywhere near me.
Oh, that's
like
been really.
The thing is, what I have noticed is that regardless of whatever I've been eating, as long as I'm in a deficit, I lose weight.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
You know, food quality is important. You know, adequate protein, all those things, all important. But if you can't lose weight, then you are not in a deficit of some description. Because I did work with Chris Lowe. I had a very high carbohydrate, loads of rice, loads of not so much bread, but certainly lots of kind of starchy carbs, things like that. Plenty of fruit, even like some things like protein bars and more processed food in there, just to get the calories in. And I lost 8 kilos over a 3-month period, eating about 3,400 calories. And I knew that I was eating that because I was weighing everything. Obviously trying to get as much food quality as I could. But, if you're in a deficit, and you could be sure you're in a deficit, and you're not losing weight, are you in a deficit? Are you truly in a deficit? So
you've got to be honest with yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, because your body won't break the laws of physics.
No. I mean, that's one thing I've written down, which is a huge thing for a lot of people I speak to as well, is don't drink your calories. Like James was saying earlier, and I'm the same. I drink water and black coffee. And that's it, apart from like I'll drink beers and stuff like that at the weekend. But other than that, there's no calories in any of my drinks because it's, I don't know, it's just a waste of calories as far as I'm concerned. I'd much rather eat them in some nice food rather than a sugary drink or even a non-sugary drink or whatever, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Oh, totally. No, that's really interesting. I think we mentioned water there. Obviously, that's something that a lot of people don't do. Don't drink much water themselves, which again it's a straightforward, it's one of those low-hanging fruit kind of quick wins, isn't it? Increasing the amount of water they drink, which everyone says, but I don't know how many people actually, a lot of people I speak to don't do it. And then I'm slightly baffled when an adult sort of says to me they can't drink water, they don't like plain water. I'm always a bit
I'm just thinking actually as well about kind of the principles behind all of this. So, because I was gonna talk about like the change of lifestyle. I mean, I'll do this very quickly because we need to wrap up in a minute. But the change of lifestyle. So, I was saying I fasted from a Sunday night to a Monday night, and I did that for a year and a half, 2 years nearly. But then I got the boy, the spaniel, and I'm out walking him 3 hours a day. I'm doing 60 miles a week. I was knackered. I had to start eating again. So I don't do that anymore because it used to fit with my lifestyle. And then I started training with Paul McElroy, and then I started eating more anyway. But so the principles I've got in place. So recently, I had a funky shoulder. So I had to drop all the weights down. So I'm training less. I'm not training less, but I'm doing less weight. So therefore, I'm not expending as much energy. So I started to notice I was getting a bit of a tire. So the old belt line,
the knicker elastic,
was tipping over. So no, but that's my thing, and that's what I spoke about ages ago. So I was, instead of having 4 eggs for breakfast, I was having 3, and I was having yogurt and berries and that 3 times a week instead of 5. On days that because I was then only training 3 days a week rather than 5. So on the days I wasn't eating it. And it normalized. And what's happened is the weights are building back up. So I'm pretty much back to where I was. And I've realized I've started having to eat more again. So the principles are there. And without weighing food, all I've said is I'm going to have 25% less for breakfast, which means 1 less egg. And I don't even have to weigh that. It's just, that's exactly what it is. So it makes it very simple, because obviously people will have periods of like months where they're really busy at work and maybe he's not as active. And then they might have like months off where they are active. So if you've got those principles in place, you can adjust them without even really having to think about it too much. But that's like, obviously that's a bit further down the line from where where you're beginning from. But that's kind of, for me, that is the aim of where to be at, and be able to just manage it without having, because the last thing people want to do is put it in an app and do this and do that for the rest of their lives,
It's like we said, I mean, I've said before, I can't remember if it was on the podcast or not, but there's these 3 levers that you can pull on and adjust throughout your life, depending upon what you're doing. Lever 1 is sort of the type of food you eat. So you can just open the floodgate and eat whatever you want, or you can restrict that slightly, however you decide to do that. Lever 2 is kind of the quantity of the food that you can eat. So like you say, you can go from 4 eggs down to 3 or whatever. Yeah. And then lever 3 is kind of when you eat. So it's kind of the time compression, the time window, and that sort of thing. And you've got those 3 kind of controls at your disposal at any time, and they're very easy to toggle and to play around with. And if you find that you're putting on body fat that you don't want to, you can make some adjustments there quite easily. If you feel like you're maybe you're losing weight and you've got no energy, you can maybe increase some of those. And, when you get yourself to a place of, homeostasis or whatever, and you're kind of where you're at and you're balanced and you're where you need to be, you just hold things there, and if lifestyle changes, you might need to make some changes. But I think we haven't discussed it on this podcast and we do need to wrap up, but I know Josh Hillis talks about it a lot, but we're talking about food in a very mechanical way, in a very, process energy in, energy out type way. But we do totally understand, because we are human, obviously, as well, that the majority of people's food choices are not dictated by intellect and logic. They're dictated by mood and emotion and all the rest of it. So it is as simple as we're saying, but it's not always as easy as we're saying, because there's lots of other things that come into
when you've got everything else in place, like sleep and all of that, like all sleep and exercise and work and life and all of that we've spoke about before as well. That's when it can actually slot in quite nicely, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think we've all just said we've experienced all of that as well. As in, I used to be rubbish with food and eat what I like and drink what I like and think I could get away with it and just run it off. But it doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
Go.
So yeah, we'll wrap up there. James, well, have you got any last thoughts apart from that last thought that you've just done there?
No, but I just wanted to say as well, just congratulations to everyone who did the Tactical Strength Challenge last weekend at Unique Results. It was really fantastic. Well done to everyone. Well done to Edith, who I mentioned a lot on this show, who did 63 years old, got 100. Her previous best deadlift was 95 kilos. She did 102.5 kilo deadlift, 131 snatches in 5 minutes with a 12 kilo bell. Fantastic, getting better and better. So that's great. And everyone else at Unique Results did fantastic, and everyone who joined us. So yeah, really, really good. So no, it's great. And it's been an interesting conversation, actually, and hearing your guy, both of your the way you do things as well is always good. So that's great. Excellent. Paul, anything to declare?
Anything to declare? Yeah. Nothing.
You went quiet there.
So he did. I knew what he was saying.
Genius, you declared your silence.
Right. Yeah. No, as long as, whatever you do, you've got to bring your attention to it.
Yes.
Because I think it's by virtue just bringing your attention, whatever the way you. We've just kind of settled into something that works for our lives, and I'm sure it might, if we ask us in another year's time, things may have changed a little bit. But I doubt any of us would have ballooned into 20, 30 kilos extra weight or gone up and down radically. So I think you've just got to bring your attention to it. And I think, James and Peter, you both think about your food, and you're more efficient about thinking about it, but you never take your attention off it. And I think that's probably why you're in a place where you're quite confident with it. But I've just had some new mugs made for my crew, which is if you can't drink coffee on your diet, sack your personal trainer. So that's a new Hounds of Health mug.
Nice.
Well, I just think, they stop you eating everything. Sometimes, a cup of coffee is all right, I think. But not in a Guinness. So.
I was going to say, even a glass of Guinness, of coffee Guinness is all right every now and then.
Well,
try it and let me know what you think. Don't.
Well, there we go. Anyway, right. I'm going to leave you with a quote. Right. This is a quote from Arnold J. Rimmer from Red Dwarf, which was on a song by Carter, The Unstoppable Sex Machine. Back in the day, great band. Give them a listen. When you're young, you can eat what you like, drink what you like, and still slip into those 28-inch trousers. Then one day, all of a sudden, you reach that age, 24, 25, your muscles give up, wave a little white flag, and then all of a sudden, you're a fat bastard. And then on Carter, that's where they start going, you fat. But anyway... Sorry, just a little bit of joviality there.
Nice.
I'll
Do you
leave
want to
you with
wrap?
that.
Do you want to wrap up for us?
But there
Pete?
you go. Let's wrap up. Anyway, that's yeah. Sorry. Didn't mean to offend anyone. But yeah. So, like we said right at the beginning, if you like this, if you think it will help anyone, apart from that last bit, then please like and share. Leave a review if you are able to on the platform you're listening on. If not, try another platform and leave a review on that instead. And yet, share it with your friends. And if you want to get into the Facebook group, just go onto Facebook, search for Health Oddity, and you will find us there. We will see you next week with some people who James has invited on, and I can't remember the names.
Yeah, next week we've got Leonie and Michaela
Yes.
Dirk and Schofield, who are we had to reschedule. They're the sisters who recently represented Team GB at the Winter Olympics in the Moguls. So they're joining us from France. They're based out in Châtel in France, originally obviously from England, but they're going to join us and talk all about training and elite sport and their experience at the Olympics. But also, I know Leonie has had, and I think they both have, but Leonie has some serious injuries. She's broken her back. She's broken, fractured collarbones, all kinds of things. So coming back from injuries and mentally and physically how to deal with that. So that should be a really interesting chat. We've got them on next week.
Excellent. Thank you, James. Thank you to you guys for listening. We appreciate you all, and we will talk to you next week.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant, Paul Bassett, and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.